Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin.
Where dreams begin.
This week, alas no Jane, but I do have some very, very good friends of ours all the way from down under, down under to be precise. Kat and Lewis, welcome back.
Hey Michelle, how you going?
Really good. What about yourself, Lewis?
Oh, good day, Michelle. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
Do you know, it's been, can you believe it, 9 months since we've talked on the show before?
No, that's got to be a record for us.
I know. And it's down to basically the first thing that I was going to talk with you guys about. And it's like, what is it like at the moment being in Australia, in Perth, as a Disney fan during a global pandemic? You know, what's it been like? Have you been able to get any Disney at all?
We have. I mean, primarily through the wonders that is Disney Plus, we've been able to binge our way through a lot of Disney in a visual sense. So that's been quite good. But in terms of going to the parks, it's been a big because as well as being in Australia, and I think Australia's borders opened last month, was it, in February? For international travel. We're actually in Western Australia, and Perth is the most isolated capital city in the world. That's the title that we hold. And through being so isolated, we were able to basically have zero community transmission of said virus for up until December or January of this year. So December last year, January this year. So we've been very, very lucky in that we've had almost no restrictions, don't you think, Lou?
Yeah, and we've got very high triple vaccination rates as well now that we do actually have COVID in the community, and things seem to be going quite well, touch wood.
Yeah, now that things have so we've opened up to the rest of Australia and to the world, which is pretty cool, but it's just a bit of it's a weird vibe because we're not used to having to deal with people getting infections and that kind of thing. So we're finding our way around there. But the main thing has been for us not traveling because, well, you know how many trips we were booking a year, Michelle. It was a bit gross at one stage, wasn't it?
No, work hard, play hard.
True. I think 2019, I want to say May was our last.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was an April-May trip that we went over to Walt Disney World. I was actually that year, I was trying to twist Lewis's arm into going to either Hong Kong or to Shanghai for like a Boxing Day, between Boxing Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day kind of trip. Lewis was like, look, we've got a really big trip planned next year because we did the whole thing with the Disney Cruise Lines where you can book a trip in the next year. So we booked a big one, and that wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. And so didn't have a trip at the end of the year. But it's probably good that we weren't up in China at that stage, I think. Yeah, so we've been homebound since. But like I say, it hasn't been the worst of things. We've been able to get little bits of Disney everywhere. We've got lovely people like you that send us some wonderful care packages. So that's been pretty good.
And we bought a new house, so there was that as well.
That's true. Yeah, we did change houses, so that was good. It just gave us a little bit more space. We've got a little bit more room for the podcasting now.
And you've taken up the hobby of kayaking.
We have, and I mean that has been one of the things is that we've gone and we've found ourselves in an area where the river near us is probably as close to the Jungle Cruise as you could get, just without the animatronics. So we're looking to install some animatronics just to give it that real genuine feel. But the river itself is a little bit Jungle Cruise. It's not really particular. It's more Aussie kind of trees and stuff on the side, but the width of the river and that kind of thing. So we take the kayaks down and we just pretend that we're on the Jungle Cruise, and when we get to the weir, we're like, oh, look, it's the backside of water, but we won't go under it because we'll probably get saturated.
Hopefully you don't come across some of the piranhas or elephants or anything too horrific on your travels, although you did have that incident with the wee beastie.
Oh yeah, yeah. I discovered that anaphylactic shock was a possibility for me, so that was not much fun.
Not fun. Not fun. Okay. Well, let's move on and just think about you've not had any trips booked for a long time. Are you now things are getting a little bit more sort of normal around the Disney theme parks? Are you now starting to think, where should I go next? What could we do as a couple? Where could we go to? What's in your minds?
Well, at the moment, there's still a little bit of reluctance. We've got a friend that just went up to Singapore recently, and she ended up spending 7 days of her vacation in ISO because she got an infection while she was up there. I'm kind of tempted to wait until things normalize a little bit more, but once they do, we've got a few options in mind, haven't we, Lou?
Yeah.
Well, because we've been talking about perhaps the first trip that we make might be more into the Asian region again.
Like Tokyo or, yeah. Well, I guess that's probably the best option.
Well, because Tokyo would be a good option because then we could also do Universal as well and experience their Harry Potter franchise thing that they've put up. So
And then Nintendo Land.
that's true. That would be very exciting as well. So that's probably where the mind's leading, but we haven't booked anything in yet, which is
No.
surprising.
Although Craig from the After Dark Podcast Network, he just recently went to Disneyland Paris in the last couple of weeks, and that did make me feel very much like because we were supposed to go back to Paris in 2020. So I'm still kind of hanging out to get back there as well.
Yeah, I think we're always going to have a fond place in our heart for the old Disneyland Paris because it was the first Disney park that we went to.
I wish you guys could go there next month and join me and have some fun in the Art of Marvel Hotel New York and have a few cocktails with me in the Skyline Bar.
Look, if we win the lotto and we can quit our jobs and not have to worry about the ISO and stuff like that we'd have to deal with, I'll be there.
I wish you could be. I wish you could be. You didn't mention anything with regards to cruising, though.
No. So I've been watching the cruise thing with a little bit of interest, and I don't know whether you have as well, Michelle. Just the idea of getting to port and testing positive is just a little bit, I guess, because we haven't had that level of exposure to the virus as other places in the world. I think that'd be heartbreaking for us to, for instance, fly all the way to, say, Florida and to get ready to go on onto the ship, and they're like, sorry, not safe to board. We'll get your bags for you. And we'd just be like, oh, well, we've flown all the way over here for what now? Yeah, so just feeling a bit weird about that.
And also, it's like, I don't think America's on our agenda for a little while yet. For various reasons. I mean, I'm still waiting for them to finish like building Tron and the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. So yeah,
which is looking closer.
Yeah, true. But I just want to wait until all that stuff's open before we go back and to get the most bang for our buck because I get the feeling it's going to cost more than it has done in the past.
Yes, well, that's what everyone's indicating at the moment.
I must admit, last year when I was about to board the Disney Magic, I was having literally palpitations whether I'd test positive at the port. I'd taken with me half a dozen sort of LFT test kits, and I was like, twice a day testing. I'd isolated myself away from other people so that I didn't get an infection, so that I could get on the ship. And it is a very, very worrying time because, to be told, oh, sorry, you're here, but you can't get on board. And the magic is so close. You can smell it, you can sense it, you can feel it in your heart. And oh, yeah, completely agree. But let's just keep things crossed that things are moving in the right direction, that you don't need that.
Yeah, which they seem to be. Yeah, exactly.
The parks are opening up again, and it leads into quite nicely talking about Disneyland Paris because they've removed quite a lot of their restrictions. We can hug a non-face character now.
Which is so good. Tell me they have a Wookiee on site because I need me a Wookiee hug.
Well, I believe you can go over into Tomorrowland and there is that area where you can meet and greet your Star Wars characters. So, yeah, I think they're going to have to give some training to their cast on how to prize guests off them, to be honest.
Possibly. But everyone's going to be hanging out for that. I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And, masks going and things like that. It's very exciting, and literally daily things are changing. So even as we're recording, things might have changed by the time this show releases. So fingers crossed on that one, that we can get a bit of normality, we can get some travel, we can get a little bit of a Disney fix in our lives again really soon. What are you seeing about the Disneyland 30th celebrations? Is there anything that's tantalising and exciting you?
I haven't really kept an eye on this. I must admit, I've been a little bit lackluster on it. Have you seen much, Lou?
Not really, no.
Which is weird, because usually there's a lot about the big celebrations that actually crosses our paths, through the Australian Disney pages that we follow. Maybe we should actually follow some French ones, or some DLP ones anyway.
Well, you mentioned Craig, and he seemed so enthralled about Disneyland Paris. He was saying it was going to be his now number one Disney park, beating over Walt Disney World. He was that much back in love with it, and the experience he had at the Marvel Hotel with the cocktails and the Skyline Bar and things like that.
Because you came to the Skyline Bar with us when we were cruising together, didn't you?
We did. We didn't really have a big experience there, so I kind of regret that. But yes, we did, and we saw the beautiful backdrops, and we used an iPad, if I remember,
to order.
Yeah.
And so, because the second cruise that Lewis and I went on, we ended up getting the passport, and during that 7-day cruise, we worked our way through a few, most of the cocktails, I think. And so it was a kind of a cool way to wind down of an evening, after dinner, or it was a really neat place to just go and hang out, because it was so quiet, and those screens are amazing. You really do feel like you've been transported. So I would imagine the Art of Marvel one must be amazing to go to.
Find out soon, and I will share all. So yes, very excited. So if we're in one Disneyland, let's hop to another Disneyland. And this is something I believe you've also partaken in. It's the Disney California Adventure Food Festival, because we love a bit of food and wine, don't we?
Oh, yeah, we do. I quite like the theming that they've used this year. Have you seen the lanyards and things with that sort of Californian sunset kind of look?
So cool. I just love everything about that. You get this big lanyard and you snap off your little tabs and you can go get drinks, but there's some amazing food and drink items.
There are. So top tip, don't snap your tab off before you go, because we got caught up and I got yelled at. So I had to pretend to snap a tab off when I went to the next counter. I'm just like, this is so lame. And it was literally that something was going to cost 2 tabs. And so I was using 1 tab off mine, I think one off one that Lewis had just finished. And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing. It's all right, I'll just pay for it. That's fine. Anyway, it's good fun though. It's probably, I think, I don't know what Lewis thinks, but if I was to put Epcot next to Californian Adventure, I'd actually go Californian Adventure. I thought it was a great setting to have that festival.
Yeah, no, it was good, very conveniently placed.
And the fact that at Epcot, you're walking around so much to try and get everything in, and it's such a vast area. If you want to go, say, from Mexico to Italy, it involves such a long walk, whereas over at DCA, the distance between these booths isn't as vast, so you can quite easily get round one to another.
Correct. They're right on top of each other. So, and that's important for if you like one kind of food and the people that you're with want to go and try other kinds of food, you're not too far away from each other for meeting back up. So you're just like, okay, well, we'll come back and we'll meet over there, but you go get whatever you need and I'll see you in 10 minutes kind of thing.
Have you had a chance yet to dig into the menu and find anything that's attracted your attention?
Have I found anything? Have I found everything? Come on. I bet you've been poring over it as well.
Well, I found an item for both of you.
Oh, okay. I've got money on the one that you've picked for me, but yeah, go on.
It's a spicy honey apricot cocktail with rye whiskey, apricot, orange, lemon juice, spicy honey syrup, and bitters.
Nice. Not the one that I thought, but and what
Ooh.
about Lewis?
Well, I know, no offence, Lewis, and you know I love you deeply, my darling, but I do know you like your girly drinks. And I did find something, and it was literally the first one on the menu, and I thought, no, okay, it does sound like a vomit in a glass, but I bet it tastes absolutely gorgeous. A cherry chocolate mint dessert cocktail with vodka, creme de menthe, liqueur, cherry, chocolate syrup, coconut cream, and heavy whipping cream.
Sounds like an alcoholic milkshake.
It does, doesn't it? It's like St. Patrick's Day milkshake with alcohol.
I love it.
Not sure if that's the one I'd go for, because there was another drink I'll mention in a little while that sounded a bit more up my alley. But food wise, there was something caught my attention. One of the stands is called Nuts About Cheese, and at this stand you can get a peanut butter and jelly mac. It says mac and cheese, I'm assuming, with brown sugar streusel and strawberry crackle. So that sounds very interesting. Very weird, but very
Interesting. It sounds amazing, Lewis.
I'm salivating about the entire menu because it's like if you like Snickers, they have a caramel peanut milk chocolate Mickey macaron. Oh my
saw
word!
Yeah, that made the list. There's lots of new stuff as well. Like, it doesn't seem like they're rehashing, which is one of the great things about these festivals, is that everything on the menu just about, like, there's some old family favorites, of course, but there's a lot of new stuff, which is kind of cool. And I think that all the stuff that I was really interested in came from that new list. Do you know what the drink that I thought that you might have picked for me?
Go on.
The pineapple tiki bitter cocktail, because I love Campari. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a bitter person, but I love me some Campari. So the idea of aged rum, tick, Campari, tick, pineapple juice, big tick there, and then it's got I never know how to say it. Is it orgeat, lime juice, and tiki bitters? I mean, come on, that sounds like an amazing cocktail.
Does indeed, and I do love a good old cocktail every now and again, and I know that you do. But there's just so many things on this that sound so fresh and exciting. Did you have anything else on your try list over there, Lewis?
So Cluck a Doodle Moo. They've got the ranch wings with hot sauce. So that one sounded quite nice. I know very standard, but still. Then the French onion grilled beef tenderloin slider. So that's a grilled beef tenderloin served with Gruyere cheese sauce and caramelized onions served on an onion roll. So I thought that one sounded very nice.
Oh, it does indeed.
Cheesy goodness.
What other ones are there?
Well, I've got a few on my list as well, and some really weird ones as well. I had to look up an item to see what it was. So at I Heart Artichokes, they've got I'm going to probably say this wrong, but it's called chicharron crusted fried artichoke dip with smoked pepper crema and a cheese, Oaxaca cheese, I think it is. And I had to look up with what this chicharron was, and it's basically like a fried, like, bacon rind kind of thing. But to me, it looked like, when the photo was there, it looked like, you know, what are they called? Like arancini balls, where they've been breaded and fried. That's what it looked like to me, but it's actually some sort of animal product on the outside, which is a bit weird and good. The other thing, well, there was quite a few things. How much time have we got, Michelle?
As much as you want.
Over at the Paradise Garden Grill, they had a really, really good selection of beer, and I do remember that from our trip over there. But they've got a little special event card out that's got pretzel bites with a beer cheese sauce. And I'm just like, yes, please. And then over, I'm guessing in the Marvel area, they've got some Terran treats, and it's a raspberry spiral ration, which is a yellow strawberry spiral churro with berry compote.
Well, you know me and desserts, that one does sound absolutely delightful. What about you, Lewis? Anything else on your list that might be a bit more savoury?
Garlic Kissed has got some garlicky kind of inspired things. The grilled top sirloin with roast garlic Gruyere, smashed potatoes, and black garlic chimichurri. It sounded very nice. And the carbonara garlic mac and cheese with peppered bacon.
Oh my goodness. Don't you think, Michelle, that there's a really good balance of sweet and savoury treats?
Absolutely.
The churros, they've got like some churros there that I would like. I'm just not sure how this works, but they've got a mango churro, which has got mango sauce, chili lime, sugar, and tamarind chamoy. But it looks like it's got chunks of actual mango on it. I'm not sure how they stay on those churros because usually you want stuff that's like fine and will just stay on there.
It might be in the dipping sauce. What do you think, Michelle?
Possibly so. Could be. We'll see. We'll wait and see. So we'll get some pictures out there and see who's enjoying what.
One churro I can definitely recommend is the bacon and the maple bacon churro with cinnamon sugar, maple icing, and crumbed bacon. That is on the churro wagon near Redwood Creek Challenge Trail. I've had that. It was very nice.
Sounds so good. And a lot of these items are back from previous incarnations of the festivals as well. So it's really nice that we do have that as well. So that's brilliant. I'm feeling full now.
I agree.
You
didn't even mention the old world aged cheddar cheese lager soup with toasted fig and prosciutto sandwich.
Do you know what was on my list? But I really wanted to talk about those pretzel bites, and I thought it was a little bit cheesy sameness.
Yeah. That's at Sonoma Terrace. So there's man.
Yeah, it feels like the whole park's gotten involved.
Absolutely does. And there's so many things. And if anyone's going to this festival and wants to share their thoughts, feelings and pictures, please do get in touch with us because I'm sure we're all salivating to hear more, aren't we, guys?
Absolutely. And so we can live vicariously through you, please.
Without the calories, you have to take them for us though, guys.
It's the price.
But before we finish, I just have to end with something sweet and something neat and something that... Banana pudding shake.
Ha, nice.
Ice cream gets creamier when banana pudding is added to the blender. The shake is topped off with luscious whipped cream and maraschino cherry and crushed vanilla wafers.
Sounds amazing.
So that's a drink I would choose.
Yeah.
So before we say farewell, I don't think we can sort of record a podcast without you guys, without talking a little bit about the Star Cruiser, because when it was initially announced, I know you guys were so enthralled, so enthused by the whole idea. Now it's been sort of a couple of weeks and we've had the media cruises and then we've had the first paying customers. What are you feeling towards it so far? Is it for you? What are you thinking about it? Are you still that keen? And then I've got another question to move us on in the discussion about it, but let's just go with what do you think so far?
I mean, my level of enthusiasm, Lewis is a bigger Star Wars fan than I am, but my level of enthusiasm was working out how many coffees I had to give up to pay for this. And I was prepared to do it. Like, that was it. I got myself a little cold brew kit for home so I could start making my coffees at home. I was bang up for it. I hadn't started packing my bags, but I'd started sort of plotting what I would pack if I was to go, because I knew that we had a bit of time ahead of us. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a little bit hesitant.
I'm just trying to wait. I'm waiting until real people who've paid the money are actually on the ship and to hear what their feedback is. Because, the people who were from the media and vloggers and bloggers who got it for free, their experience can't really be taken into consideration because there's no value there that they're actually, putting it against. So I think when real people go on there and have experienced it, we'll get better feedback on whether it's worth it or not. But the thing is, it's such a narrow band of people who it's actually made for. Because A, you've got to be a Star Wars fan. B, you've got to be rich. C, you've got to be an extrovert. Because if you're an introvert and if you've got like massive social anxiety, going onto this cruise where the whole point of it is to be role playing the whole time may not be for you. And also the other thing I find interesting as well is that you pay the money to go on the Galactic Star Cruiser, then you go onto the ship, and then the next day you go down to Galaxy's Edge and go and do the stuff that you could do anyway. So, I mean, I know there will be some story stuff in there as well.
I was going to say there must be some story stuff in there, and there must be some sort of like you must get some time, like a booking that you're guaranteed to go on at this time and fly the Millennium Falcon. And you're guaranteed to go, and like the attraction times are all worked out for you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to stuff around too much, and you don't have to have that worry about getting there at like 7 a.m. or whatever it is that people are booking their boarding groups and things like that. So there's that. But I'm just, for the money that it is that it's costing at the moment, I would rather spend that money on going on a concierge cruise with DCL, because I know that they're going to get it right. I don't know.
And that's the other thing is when you're on the Halcyon, like you're either doing the storyline stuff or then you're having dinner and those kind of things. But when we're on the cruise ships, there's a lot of downtime on the cruise ships. So there's no pool on the Halcyon and there's no spa. So what are you doing in those downtime? Are you just like sitting in the bar waiting for the next story moment to happen, or waiting in your room for the next story moment to happen? So it's those kind of things I want to find out.
Yeah, those are very good points. Like, I think the longest vlog I've seen about the experience was condensed into 3 hours, and I sat and watched it, and literally I felt exhausted because it just seemed to be there wasn't the downtime. It was going from one challenge to another challenge to another challenge to an interaction to having a meal, having to leave the meal because there were things happening and you had to assemble in the atrium, and I was getting exhausted. Yeah, it's very interesting. I've got some very dear friends who are massive Star Wars fans, and they went on the experience and they've literally turned around and said, I am saving to buy and go again. For them, who are quite extrovert, really passionately into their Star Wars, for them it was everything they could possibly wish for. But as you say, if you're a little bit more, you don't want to get involved with the characters and you don't want to buy into the fact that this blue food is from another planet, then it might not be for you.
Yeah, I'm really torn on it because I want it to be such a good thing, and I want to do it if it is going to be a good thing. I just have a lot of questions, I think, as well, like Lewis, because one of the things that is a potential irritation is if we went on something like this, like if you go to the parks and there's a kid having a meltdown and you're in the parks, well, you can move to somewhere else and you can go and do whatever you're doing. But if they're part of your interaction group so I'm guessing that it's kind of like the muster stations, that you're probably stuck with the same people throughout the cruise. And so if you have someone in your group that has a kid that has a tendency to have tantrums or is just not focused on where they are because they're just not interested, because let's face it, Star Wars fans are generally in their 40s if not 50s. And well, the big ones anyway. Yeah. And so if someone's dragged their kid along and they're not really interested, that would be really disappointing to have that experience where you're kind of stuck with them and you've paid that much money. I'm not saying that all kids are like that, because some kids are mad fans of this franchise and know how to behave like that. But, they're kids, like they've got an attention span. And if it's like wall to wall, like no downtime kind of experience, then those kids are going to find it really overwhelming. And they are going to have a higher tendency to, have a bit of a tantrum or, be distracted or whatever it is that they end up being.
And it's not like a normal hotel or cruise ship where you could go to the soft play area or the park or anything like that, because you're on this immersive experience, which doesn't seem to me to be catering a great deal for those little people, because the rooms aren't particularly large. I've seen a couple of different room tours. Unless you go for the more luxurious rooms, the rooms are quite small. So there's not going to be even a lot of room inside the room to run around and let off that steam that some children need to be able to do. But I think, as you say, as we see more people travelling and we see more of your normal people, because I know on the first cruise there was a lot of people that are travel agents or are vloggers that had booked it themselves out of their own pocket to review it for their channel. And I think even so then it might be their slant. Let's just wait for Joe Public, like me and yourself, start getting on board during March, during April, and see what their viewpoints are.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Right. Well, one last question then. Thinking of Disney going down this immersive experience route, and they've chosen the Halcyon and the Star Cruiser, etc. It seems to have 57 different names, the Chandrillion line and this, that and the other, which I can't get my head around. It's like, what do I call it? If they were going to do this with another franchise, what franchise do you think would work?
I mean, really, for me, the whole idea of the Star Wars thing is that you can be kind of trained and you follow a path. And I think that follows a couple of games that are available on the consoles. And it kind of follows that whole thing of the Jedi training that is available in the parks. What would be really cool is if you could train to be an Avenger, but they had the enemies as well as the Avengers on board. So you could kind of follow a path and do that. I think that Marvel could work quite well with that.
I think it would take you a step further, like if you could train to be an X-Men and
yes,
and harness your mutant abilities.
The Situation Room, is that what it's called?
Room.
Danger Room.
Yeah.
Damn it, that was close.
That sounds intriguing. Completely, as you know, I knew I was asking the right people for this, because in my head, I was just thinking of literally living the life of Snow White for 3 days, but then that probably turned into a room cleaner, because that's basically all she ended up doing is cooking and cleaning. So, yeah, probably not the best route for someone. But yeah, I can see the Marvel Universe. Oh, wow.
You could have a Pirates of the Caribbean like immersive experience.
Yes, Pirates of the Caribbean would work really well. You could do something, maybe at Aulani, they could do something where it was like a Moana kind of situation where you were like living in part of a village, and like it wouldn't be like an underground hotel like the one that they've got in the Star Wars situation, but you could do that. What else could you do?
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work really well, because you could be going from element to element to try and get this artifact. And another one which links us back to what we started with your kayaking, Jungle Cruise.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that would be amazing. Can you imagine if they could have a stretch of river that they could do that on, where you were actually on like a miniature cruise ship? And it'd probably cost you a sweet fortune, because you probably have like 100 people max. But that would be incredible to do something like that. But they'd have to do that like big scale, like, I don't know, do it like down in the Ozarks or something like that.
Kind of touching into Adventures by Disney a little bit that one. So, they do have these ships that you can get that kind of thing on. For me, as someone who, and I know this sounds really weird because I talk to people on the microphone via the podcast, and I do come across as being quite outgoing and bubbly, etc. But at times I am quite an introvert, and the whole idea of interacting with characters and things like that does scare the bejeebers out of me a little bit. So for me, it'd be one never-ending escape room or murder mystery dinner that, can you imagine if you're with someone that's really abhorrent or
Yeah, no, that'd be a bit much. I think that what might be really cool is if that, like, how they do like the Marvel Days at Sea on Disney Cruise Lines, if they could do something like that, where it was a day where it's like you've got a couple of days on the cruise just doing like, normal cruisy kind of stuff. And then, between, say, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. on day 3, you're going to be doing this. But one of the things that we've talked about on Diz Down Under is the whole concept of actually having a role to play rather than just attending different stations and doing different activities. Like if it was done like I think they do murder mysteries like that, don't they? Where like you're given a role and this is your character and, you know, this is the clue that you've got or something like that.
You might be the murderer.
You might be the murderer. I'm not saying to do it as a murder mystery, but it would be really, really cool if you could do it so that you just had a day where you were going to be doing that, but you had other days around it to either lead up to it and to wind down from it as well. Because I think I'd find it the same way, Michelle. I think I'd find it exhausting if it was multiple days and that was all I was doing.
I can see it now. We're checking into the Disneyland hotel at maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. We're getting our character, we're getting our costume, and we're spending the entire day there where we are working with other characters to solve something or experience something, and then we would leave maybe the end of the day having felt a sense of accomplishment of the shared experience. And I think that is another avenue that Disney could go, taking away the whole sleeping over type bit as well.
Oh, and Disney, you're welcome for the idea.
Yeah, just send us on the Vlogger Blogger cruise and we'd be happy.
Totally. But I think it could be a way to look at it anyway.
Completely. Guys, as usual, you have brought some fantastic ideas to the table. I am praying, hoping things keep continuing on this route so that we can meet up again real soon, whether you're coming to my country, your country, or another country. But in the meantime, if people want to find out more about your wonderful social media existence, your podcasts, etc., give yourselves a big shout out.
Oh, you can catch us on the social media. We're mostly on Instagram and Facebook at Diz Down Under. You can also catch the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. We release weekly, generally on a Sunday. Occasionally when we get a long weekend, or as you Brit people call them, a bank holiday, we record them on a Monday because we've got an extra day. So we figure why not, which may happen this week, but generally speaking, we drop on a Sunday.
Fantastic stuff. Well, guys, I would like you both to look after yourselves really well till we meet again. As usual, you can find us, the Disney Dream Girls, on Twitter and Instagram at Diz Dream Girls. You can find us on Patreon as well for additional shows and content. Patreon.com/Disney Dream Girls. We have our Facebook page where we interact with each other, the Disney Dream Girls podcast family. But until our next show, it's a goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from us.